We are awakening together. This is our weekly gathering we hold online. For more information, visit our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you there.
Good morning. I hope everyone's doing well. This beautiful well, actually it's a cloudy day, but I happen to like cloudy days and it's not too hot here in northern Kentucky. But regardless of the weather, I hope everyone is well today. And thanks for letting me lead this gathering this morning. And the title of my homily is The Rhythm of Grace. So I'm going to share some things that I've been learning. And so at this time, if everyone would feel to greet each other in the chat, I will ask Marisol to play our opening song, We Are Awakening by Deva Premal and Mitten. Thanks, Marisol. Beautiful, thank you. I want to read a statement of purpose for awakening together. And that is, we are an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. And for the homily today, I've selected core value 3, which is we accept one true self, which is one presence or being, non-dual, without beginning or end, and absolutely changeless. We live this value by practicing letting go of the belief in the individual self as who we are. At this time, I'd like to begin our announcements. To get started this morning, I wanted to share this video, and it actually gave me the idea of the title of the homily today, and it is called The Rhythm of Grace, and it is from Angel Studios in Minnow. It's from the animated film, Young David. Marisol, if you wouldn't mind, please playing that song. Please pray with me. Holy Spirit, thank you for the insights that want to be shared and seen this morning. Thank you for joining this Sangha and allowing me to teach myself what I am to learn. Thank you for the living meditation that lies in the presence of each moment. It is my intention to keep the mind settled and the heart open this morning, so that every word shared is directly from your inspiration. Let everyone hear what you would have us see. Amen. I have asked my dear friend John Wetzel to please do our inspirational reading this morning. And thank you so much, John, for agreeing to do that. He's going to read first from NTI, 1 John 4. And if you want to follow, if you have a copy of NTI, the page numbers are 448 through 450 if you want to follow along. Thank you, John.
Good morning. Dear child, I've already told you that the work to be done is the sorting of thoughts. This includes the sorting of feelings, beliefs, and images. Everything that you experience within the dream of the world comes from one of two sources: the thinking mind, which is the mask of separation, or the Holy Spirit, which is the true desire of the heart. Every thought, every feeling, every belief that you seem to live by, and every image that you seem to see or hear speaks thoughts of one source or the other. Your role is to discern the source of the thought, feeling, belief, or image, and then decide if you will accept what it teaches based upon the source. We are of God, and so we have within us the inherent ability to recognize the source that comes from God and the source that teaches God as naught. You must only feel, within the presence of your awareness, the message that you're considering now. And the feeling you know within will tell you which source you are considering now. The feelings of peace, acceptance, trust, and joy witness to the true desire of the heart. Recognition of this desire brings forth the feelings of recognition. If a thought, belief, or image is not aligned with true desire, the feelings within will not be the feelings of recognition. They will be fearful feelings, such as guilt, hatred, and the feelings of death. When these feelings are upon you, you're looking at a source that is not true. You may rejoice in the recognition that, because it is not true, you may simply lay it aside. The awareness of God looks on nothing that is false, so all that is false need not be looked on by you. Love is all that there is. This is a fact that you may put your faith in. When any thought does not feel like love, you may put it aside as false. Thoughts that are not love are thoughts of lack, thoughts such as these: lack, limits, competition, victimhood, personhood, strife and fighting, sickness, death, rage and sorrow, helplessness, hopelessness, control, and loss. These are the thoughts that imply separateness, and separateness is illusion. So these thoughts and thoughts that seem like them are not thoughts of love. They are false thoughts of illusion. God is love, and love is everything. The thoughts of everything are these: acceptance, joy, gratitude, peace, and welcome. There is no resistance in love, because love is everything, and everything cannot be resisted by that which is. God cannot be denied fully, because God is a truth that is the core of you. To deny God is to deny yourself, and this cannot be denied fully, because to deny it fully would be to deny existence. Existence cannot be denied, because it is. Look at this and know that your salvation is at hand. Existence cannot be denied, because it is. This is the truth that sets you free. In accepting this thought, which cannot be denied in any present moment, you accept that God is, and you are one with God. In this thought, you accept yourself, and you do it with the joy of recognition. Now that you have accepted yourself, follow yourself home to the full and complete awareness that God is. In this way, love is made complete, not within reality, for in reality, love is always complete. But in this way, love is made complete within your own awareness. And when love is complete within your awareness, there is no awareness that is not love. Fear disappears within the awareness of love, because within the awareness of love, there's also the knowledge that there can never be anything to fear. We love because we are love, and love is all that we are capable of. To love God is to know God, and to know God is to love all things, because all things come from God, which is love. To not love is to believe in falsehood. This is merely misperception, since all that is all that is, and all that isn't never was.
Thank you so much, John. That was a lovely reading. I so appreciate you being willing to read that today. I chose that reading, partly because verse 19 says, "We love because we are love, and love is all we are capable of." And that's probably my favorite line in NTI. So that's part of it. And I'm learning that more every day, and gratefully. But the other reason is because of talking about seeing the thoughts and the mind being that mask of separation. And the last couple of months, this has become clearer and clearer to me. And I really wanted to be able to share that. And 1 John 4 also says, love is complete, that we need to see the love complete in our awareness. It already is. It always is. It's never different. But building our awareness of that is the practice, right? So I have to tell you that I'm feeling scattered today. And so this is my second homily. The first one, it just fell together. Like I didn't do anything. It just wrote itself. I told you what it told me to tell you, and it was easy. And this one has not been easy. And so part of it was that we have a new kitten in our house. And so that has been challenging, just as a matter of where do I sit, because she is into everything. She wanted to type everything out for me. It's been a blast. So that's been part of it. But the other part is that the insights have been coming in like just constantly. I would have loved to have the deal sealed on this homily last Thursday, but that wasn't happening because this is just the gift that keeps on giving. So super, super grateful for that. And also trying to get a big picture of something that still feels a little bit new and in process. So I want to just kind of share a little bit about my journey the last couple of months and go over some of the practices I've learned that maybe they might be helpful to others as well. And then I'll finish with kind of a revelation that dropped in the last week. So I found myself in a rather dark place for a bit. Like things were going along great, and boom, like, who knows what happens, right? There wasn't anything. But I think what triggered it was, as I was looking back through my contemplations around that time, a couple of questions arose within the contemplation. And those were, first, what if I did not believe any thought that comes from a belief in specialness? And then I thought, well, what if I didn't believe any thought whatsoever? And that sent me into this panic. And it was just this ego rampage, right? Well, you can't not believe thoughts. Like, you need to have your thoughts. You need to have thoughts to live. You have to have thoughts to function. And if we're not going to believe thoughts, we may as well just sit in a room and do nothing, because how are you going to work? How are you going to be doing anything, right? But then there was also this, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how I'm supposed to, I'm not even sure what my thoughts are. like all the layers underneath what I'm thinking. And it really felt like a very overwhelming question to me. And then my contemplations got very surface for a while. Like, what did you do yesterday? What did you see on the field trip kind of contemplations? It's like, man, and I just felt so disconnected from source. I felt like I couldn't get home, And that went on for a little while. And then I just started this prayer and this request. And my prayer was, please help open my heart. I want to come home. I mean, I just felt like crap. And I didn't want to feel that way anymore. And I wanted something that would help me feel better. And that's bottom line. I just wanted to be home again. I wanted to feel connected to source. I wanted to be aware of the love that I am. And I certainly was not at that time. So just a little while, and I'm no good historian, so just a little while after that, there was posted an opportunity for ministers to work in the mentoring sanghas. And that is a great love of mine. That is very near and dear to my heart. I love mentoring from both sides, being the mentor and the mentee, and find it just like propelling, into grace. And that's been my experience with mentoring. Excuse me. And the idea of it being a sangha just magnifies that in my mind and brings so much wisdom to us. And so I was super excited about the concept. But at that moment, I didn't have a lot of confidence that that was something I was going to be able to do. I just didn't feel like at that time I had the resources to do it because I was not feeling it. I was not feeling connected. And but there was an opportunity to practice this for those ministers who were interested to go into a mentoring sangha and to just practice and see what it was about. And I didn't want to do it. I had a lot of resistance, but my guidance was super, super clear that, no, this is it. This is what you're going to do. So I walked into it and feeling very kind of like an imposter. And I think that's what I said in the first session. Like, I feel like I'm an imposter, I just feel like I don't know anything. I just don't know anything. And I don't feel connected. And sometimes feeling like you don't know is a good thing. And other times it feels very separate, right? Feels very alone. And that's how I felt. What I didn't anticipate, which I should have seen coming because this has been my experience for all the years on the path, this was the answer to my prayer. The prayer was, please help open my heart. I want to come home. And that's what happened, right? So the structure of the mentoring sangha is such that we talked through what was going on for us, and then together saw what wisdom arose and what practices we wanted to use for the upcoming week. So this is where things got really interesting because that's where the rubber hits the road, right? You can hear a lot of inspirational stuff, but what it comes down to is in this moment, what am I practicing? What am I aware of? And being present with that. And so it gave us the opportunity to use these different practices over the 6 weeks that were amazingly helpful and brought me back to feeling like I was home. And so I wanted to share those, and if I can find them in my notes, that would be great. So the first one was because there were two mentees and then a facilitator, right? So we agreed on this practice because there was a lot of fear arising. And so the practice was to look and see what the thought was that was causing the fear, and just to look straight at it and to be willing to not believe that thought by 10%. Just 10%, just a little doubt. That's all. Just a little doubt. Is it possible that, by Mary, is it possible that that thought isn't true? Just entertain that little bit of doubt. Like, if that's all I can do, let's do that. So that was the first week. And the time when the practice was alive for me was when, on those nights when I had insomnia, which for some reason that week presented some opportunities, and not that that's unusual for me. So, you know, those nights when you are awake and you're trying to find a YouTube and you're trying to play a game, anything to get yourself sleepy, and then you don't have to listen to those thoughts that are racing through your head. That's what happens to me. I don't know if it happens to everybody, but others have shared that's a common experience. So the challenge here was, don't listen to the YouTube. Look at the thoughts that are coming up. Don't try to turn them off. Don't believe the thought that says, if you don't go to sleep, you're not going to be able to get up and tomorrow's going to be a terrible day and you need to go to sleep, right? Just look at the thoughts that are causing the fear. So that was the first challenge, and it was a challenge. And so I'd look, and then I'd turn on the YouTube and I'd say, okay, let's try again. I'd look and I'd turn on the YouTube. Eventually, just keep trying, be gentle, be kind to myself. And eventually I was able to look at the thought. And interestingly, once I saw the thought, there was a relaxing here. And it's kind of like in the Course in Miracles when they say, look inside. And you're afraid to look because of what you'll find. But when you look, you're not going to find anything there. Like, that's how it was. It's like, as soon as I saw the thought, the power behind it dissipated. So that was the first week. Wow, amazing, right? So the second week, we started playing the game Is Happening. And this is we listened to Regina's Guiding Light when she was reading Perfect Brilliant Stillness. And it was 61, 62, and 63. And in 62, she teaches the Is Happening game. And it also is included in a retreat. I think it's Embodying Truth. And so essentially the idea here is you just notice what's happening in here, right? Anger is happening. Fear is happening. Contraction is happening. Resistance is happening. Self-compassion is happening. What's happening? And then once you've identified it, we're able to go the next step of acceptance. And it's not a story about, well, I'm angry because he said this and this. It's just anger is happening. No story. And are you able to just accept that, yes, anger is here right now? It's here. It's not good or bad. I'm not judging it. It's just here. So then, and that was super, super helpful. And it really helps to stay present. So then the next week we moved to meditative loving all, which is the next thing Regina teaches in those videos. And so once you've done the is here and you've accepted it, now the challenge is to shift into loving that it's here. And I had the most amazing thing happen, that I had the awareness, the insight that in fact it was love, that in fact it is here for me, that it is generosity absolute, that it is beneficence, that everything here is absolutely the most generous thing that you can imagine. So incredible. So then we started noticing our thoughts the next week. And notice thoughts and beliefs, the ones that are so familiar, you assume they're true, right? You don't ever question them. It's just true. That's how we live. We live our lives based on these things, right? These are the things I believe. And some of them we don't even recognize as thoughts, right? We don't even notice that we believe them because they're so believed. They're just assumed. And also the ones that I'm afraid to look at because I'm afraid they're true, right? Then after we spend time doing that, we want to look at what notices those thoughts. What's seeing those thoughts? And at some point in that seeing, you have to see that wisdom is seeing the thoughts, because that's all that's there to see it, right? I mean, that's wisdom looking. And one of the exercises we did along the way that I forgot to mention is identifying thoughts as either ego or wisdom. And there's great power in that, because if you see it's ego, you know it's not something that you want to invest in, right? So if we're looking at the thoughts, what sees that? Is it wisdom? Is it ego? What is it? And when it's the direct experience that it is wisdom looking, and you have a sense of where that's seen from, then notice this question: is there anything right now dividing me from this moment? Is there anything right now that feels separate? And every single time my answer was no. I felt completely connected. Now, what had I asked for, right? I had asked for that. Okay. So then we played a game that came from the book Awake by Angelo DeLullo. Awake, It's Your Turn, which I just started reading. And and it's a thought game, and it's just calling out thoughts. It's just spending time seeing that's a thought, right? Boy, I'm hungry. That's a thought. And noticing what thoughts arise. So some of the thoughts that I got down to were, I noticed that the thoughts led to beliefs as well. So one thing that I noticed that I believed was people are uncaring and selfish if they don't do what I think they should do. So that's an interesting belief to live your life by. I noticed that the thought, I need to rest, was an invitation to distraction. I noticed that I think that somebody should be taking care of me. And why in the world is no one taking care of me? Right? So those are some of the things that arose. But the main part of the game is just that, to sit, see the thoughts, and say, that's a thought. That's a thought. So here's where things got super interesting. This practice fascinated me. I was absolutely fascinated by it. And I would just look straight at the thoughts. The thought, I would laugh, like, that is hilarious. That's a thought. And then it would dissolve and the next thought would come in. And it almost felt like I was at a shooting gallery at a festival, like, boom, I got you. You're a thought. Boom, I got you. So, not that's a common experience in my life, but that's just what it felt like. And the more I did it, the more fun it got to be. And then it got to where I could hold on to the thought a little longer and kind of do a little inquiry with it, like playful inquiry. So then I started to want to have more time for practice. Genuinely. And that's different. Practice doesn't come easy for me. It never has. And I really wanted to commit to making more time for stillness, because I knew that if I just sit still, because that's what was happening, I would sit down and all this great stuff would happen. All I had to do was sit down. So one of the things that was eating up a lot of my time was TV. So I made a commitment. I said, I'm just not watching TV. That's it. Cold turkey. It's an addiction. It's a distraction. It's numbing out. There's nothing intentional in my TV watching, right? Half the time, it's nothing I even want to watch. So way more than half the time. So I just cleared my schedule. Like, no more TV. That's it. More time to sit in stillness. I had a huge amount of resistance come up around the TV thing. So I asked inner wisdom, how am I going to do this? And my guidance was, when you want to watch TV, when your impulse is to turn the TV on, don't say no to yourself. Just give it a few minutes to just sit. Sit, breathe, go into the heart. Just do that. That's it. That was the practice. So that's what I did. And not one time did I, after I did that, did I choose then to turn the television on. Not one time. So, but I did see thoughts pop in like, oh, it's been a hard day at work. You deserve to relax. You should be able to just sit and get your mind off things, watch a show, watch a movie. And, but I just kept categorizing those thoughts. Ego or wisdom? Nope, ego. Ego or wisdom? Nope, ego. That's a thought. That's a thought. That's a thought. And then after a couple of days, this miracle happened that when those thoughts would pop in, I loved those thoughts. I loved them. They seemed so sweet. Like, they seemed so funny, right? Kind of amusing. So it became easier and easier and easier, and even enjoyable to create that space of stillness. And the more I did it, the more I wanted to do it. So that was a huge, huge shift for me. And I did live through no TV. So still no TV. So a few things I learned that I wanted to share. The first thing is, truly, I understand I do not have to give into whatever my mind tells me to do. I am not a slave to my thoughts. And I can effectively question my thoughts, and I can determine whether or not I act on them. Like, that's a big takeaway for me, because I really did not have a direct experience of that. And the next, another thing that I learned, these are not all the things I learned, but I learned that when I have the courage to look at a thought, it deflates it, it defeats it. So no thought can survive with my presence. And they lose their momentum and power. And I see that I'm more than the thought, right? And I see that I was here before the thought. I see that I'm here during the thought, and I will be here after the thought leaves. And there are more thoughts to come, and I will survive those as well. I saw that if I miss a thought, or if I miss guidance, no matter where it's from, whether it's from ego or wisdom, if I miss it, it'll come back. I don't have to freak out about that or beat myself up. It'll keep coming back until it's no longer useful or believed, right? I deepened my realization that there is no time, that it doesn't matter if I awaken in this lifetime. There is no person who's going to wake up here. That isn't a thing. So my urgency, like, oh my gosh, I have to do this stuff because what if I die tomorrow? Oh, geez, I have to wake up quick. Like, that angst and self-judgment seem to have lessened, gotten more gentle. Because what difference does it make? But every time I look at a thought, every time I see its ego, every time I'm willing to notice what sees that thought, every time I'm willing to question a belief, it's adding to the awakening of the one mind, period. Every single time I remember to be present. That's what's important here. So I see that thinning of the attachment to that person. And there are times when I felt no attachment to the body at all and no attachment to the mind, that I'm completely beyond that. So these practices have been really super, super helpful. So then I had this realization. So I was thinking back to this time when I was in this despair. Woe is me. I'm not loved. I can't find God. I'm lost. I'm separate. To now this time when I'm feeling so connected and grateful. And I was like, well, I got to figure out how to not be in that space anymore. That was terrible, right? And then in a contemplation, this was given to me. That's important. Those times are very important because you need to see what needs to be healed. If you were always happy, Melody, you wouldn't do this work for long. You need to see where you're not healed. You need to be shaken up a little bit, right? And then it came to me, there's this cycle, right? The whole world is a pendulum. Everything is a pendulum. And that pendulum is in perfect grace all the time, 100% of the time. So when I'm with the pendulum here at the woo-woo, I'm connected to here, I'm lost, right? It's all grace. Grace was with me all the way and in between. So then I started reading this book, Awake. And when I was reading, I'm not going to read this because I think that we're getting in on time, and I don't want to take the time. But if you have the book, it's in chapter 4, the section called "When the Other Shoe Drops," page 74. And Angelo DeLullo said exactly that. And I read it like 2 days after I had that realization. And he's saying, you're going to have these times when this happens, And he's saying, he calls it the biphasic aspect of awakening. Like, this happens. It's all a part of it. And what's helpful, he says, regardless of the circumstances, the key is to recognize that this is exactly how the process is supposed to go. What amazingly helpful information to get, right? Incredible. So next time when I'm feeling lost, I don't have to say, why me? Why am I here now? What I can say is, what's here for me to see? What's the gift in this, right? What am I supposed to be looking for? Because I don't know. So then I heard that song that I played, and it was called "The Rhythm of Grace." And I thought, oh, thank you. Finally. Now I'm feeling like things are jiving. Now I know I'm headed in the right direction. So I had just to have this. So here's how I saw it. Awakening is a spiral, right? We kind of go around, and sometimes it feels like we're spiraling toward heaven, right? And sometimes it feels like we're spiraling down the drain. Yeah. But it's all on the same spiral, and it's all grace, and it's all love, and it's all God. There's purpose in all of it. There's a gift in all of it. So I'm hopeful that next time will be just a little bit easier for me. I think that's all I had to say about that. So thank you, loved ones, for hanging in there with me on that journey. I wanted to just ask you to ask inner wisdom if it would be for you to donate to Awakening Together today. If you choose to do so, Marisol has put a link in the chat, and there's also a QR code in one of the little Hollywood squares in the sanctuary if you want to use that instead. And then I would like to ask Marisol if she would play the next song by Mercy Me. It's called "Grace Got You." Whew. All right. So at this time, I would love to invite anyone who would like to share something, some of their own insights or whatever you care to share this morning. Please put up your electronic hand because we might not see you if you raise your hand in the picture. Melissa? Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you so much. So much. I feel like my week was so parallel to so much of what you're saying. I'm heading into teaching a summer school program starting tomorrow for the next 3 weeks. And I was just the whole week just fretting, actually the last 2 weeks, just fretting. And I just kept saying, sit with it, sit with it. Fret is happening. Nothing was coming. I went to school. I printed out all sorts of school type stuff to do. I moved all the desks around, but nothing felt right. I sat in the room for a couple hours and just tried to put together plans, write a schedule on the board, but none of it felt like fun, summer schoolish kind of stuff. And then patience, finally, 2 days ago, was just this huge download. It was just, oh, just have stations, no classroom. I put all the desks around the edges of the class. I take all these fun stations, all STEM and art activities, and they can just basically, it's probably going to take them the whole time to finish every station by the 3 weeks. And it's just going to be open classroom, but sitting through all those thoughts. And I feel like you were just able to articulate all the different processes in my head while this was happening this week. And I just felt very parallel with your experience, and your clarity is just so healing. Thank you. So thank you for letting me be here and share this. Thank you for sharing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Melissa. It's amazing. It does feel like a download all of a sudden. It's wild. Hi, Dan. I think you're on mute, maybe.
There we go. Is that better?
Welcome. Hi.
Yeah, I was excited to see that you were doing the homily today, because ever since we sat next to each other during the Sangha's The New Guru retreat, I was like, she's onto something here. I want to hear more about what she's going through. And so, yeah, that was a beautiful reflection. Yeah, I like, and some of your points, I wrote them down as you were going through it, because they were, I think, really poignant. Not being a slave to thoughts and looking at thoughts deflates them. That was really been my practice, and it's always, it sort of amazes me, because it used to be that I'd have a thought and it was just stuck there, and I'd have to mull it over and over and over again. But to be with it, look at it, do the what's happening game is profound, because it does give it a chance to just realize that there's no cause to it. It just disappears if I'm willing to be there with it long enough. And yeah. There were all of the pendulum part also was really a good observation, that all of these thoughts are coming on for us, and the work is really being done when it seems that the thoughts are overwhelming, and we've lost connection, and then it swings the other direction, and we're back. And it was like, phew, what was that about? But it really is about the work. Yeah, so thank you. It was wonderful. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. It's good to see you. Regina, thank you. Hi.
Okay. It doesn't say mute anymore. Isn't that funny? I just noticed it says
Yeah.
it says audio. Everything's changing. Anyway, it's good to see you. It was kind of fun when Dan put his hand up, because I know that you two now know each other. I thought, oh, it's so fun to watch all these relationships blossom. But first of all, I feel, like Dan said, it's obvious you're onto something. I remember specifically during the Sangha is the New Guru. I remember when, part of that retreat, as you know, gets kind of challenging. And I remember your comments about that challenging part of the retreat, about how helpful that is, because it gives you the opportunity to watch everything that's going on in your mind. And I remember just thinking, that's so perfect, because, I'm certain there were other people that were thinking the outer needed to change. Like, it's rough right now, it should be smoother. And that isn't how you were looking at it. You were looking at it, this rough part is perfect, right? Today, when you were speaking, my God, if you could have seen my heart, it was dancing. There were light flickering around it. It was so happy, because you have found the groove. Like you're in the groove. Like if there's a groove that takes you to awakening, you found it and you're riding it. And you just need to stay there. I mean, really, everything you said was so perfect. And of course, I recognized every bit of it. And I'm just so happy for you. It kind of reminded me when in John chapter 3 in the Bible, when Jesus said to Nicodemus, you aren't far from the kingdom of heaven. Like just keep going. You're there. You're in the groove. It's taking you. Just stay with it. One of the couple of the comments that I was thinking about as you were teaching, one was when you talked about that dryness or that period of time when you don't feel connected. Of course, as you have realized, that happens to everybody. But it reminded me of something that Ramana Maharshi said. He said something like, love God or be devoted to God, whether he appears or disappears. Right? In other words, so even Ramana Maharshi was aware that there's these times of feeling connected and there's these times of feeling disconnected. And we want to just continue to be devoted to our spiritual path, continue to be devoted to whatever clarity we can find, even during those times. I mean, that's so important. And I can't remember Nisargadatta's exact words, but he said something very, very similar. I remember he said something very, very similar about it. I wish I could find his words, but I can't, so I won't even try. And of course, you found something in Angelo's book. So, as it's just part of it, and that's perfect. The other thing I wanted to just highlight, because you said it, but it was a sentence. And if you said a sentence, somebody may not hear a sentence. And so I want to highlight it for everybody. You talked about that thought in the mind that says, I need to rest. Right? I know that thought very well. It's like it perceives the spiritual practice as work. And it says you got to take a break from this work. Right. And whether it's because then you sit down and you numb out on TV or whatever way you take the break is irrelevant. It's telling you have to take a break. And that is absolutely a thought that is trying to distract us, hold us back. I remember that thought so well. Interestingly, as you were talking about it, I was like, I haven't seen that thought in a long time. Like I didn't miss it when it disappeared. I wouldn't even have thought about the fact that it isn't there anymore if you hadn't brought it in front of my face. But it did disappear. And I thought that's interesting. So eventually, I guess somehow we transcend that thought, although I don't have any great stories or anything. I can just only tell you, it's probably been a couple years since I've seen it and I haven't even missed it. So also one more thing that you said, it's so simple and so brilliant, but I think a lot of people miss it. If we just look at every thought that comes into the mind and ask, is it ego or wisdom? If it's ego, disregard it. If it's wisdom, follow it. A kindergartner could do that, right? Anybody can do that. I remember when Jasmine was about 8 or 9 years old, she was listening to me teach, which she often did. And while she was listening to me, I thought she was drawing. But afterwards, she showed it to me. And what she had done is made 2 columns all by herself. As a kid, she'd made 2 columns. And in one column, she wrote all of these thoughts and ideas that were ego. In the other column, she wrote all of these thoughts and ideas that were, back then we called it Holy Spirit. So it proves that we don't have to be spiritually educated geniuses to figure that part out. Something in us knows, we just have to look. We just have to look and ask. It's all we have to do. And if we just look at every thought and say, is this ego or wisdom, that's the easiest thing in the world. But again, as you know, then later in the day, we're told we need to take a break from this hard work. But it isn't hard work. It's the path to freedom. So again, just so friggin' happy with where you're at, the insight you're having. And I just wanted to express that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Regina. That's very meaningful for me that you see that, and that what a huge affirmation for me, obviously, and thank you to you is not enough for everything you've done for me. So, and continue to do, even though now it's all on the website. So it's fantastic having that. Sammy. Hi, Sammy.
Hello, friend. This has been so helpful and so amazing. You started out by articulating exactly how I'd been feeling, just very disconnected, and where did it go? And oh my God, what, maybe I'll just, give it up for a while or whatever. So I appreciate first your articulating that, because now I don't feel so crazy, and now I can stop beating myself up for that. And to know that this is part of it, the pendulum swinging to the one side, and trusting that it's all for me, and it's going to swing, it's swinging back to the other side. I'm excited to have signed up for the mentoring program. I just, I'm glad you talked about that too, because I'm going to start in September with one of the ministers, and I'm just really grateful that that's an offering, a resource in Awakening Together, and I know it's going to be incredibly helpful. And everything that you've said today is incredibly helpful. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sammy. And it's so good to see you. So did anyone else have we have like 2 minutes if somebody else had anything they wanted to say. Okay. Well, I want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you for the comments in the room and also in the chat. And thank you again to John for that amazing reading. I really appreciate your help. And so good to see everybody here today. So I will go ahead and give over the mic to, is it Shauna or Marisol now? Marisol. And please stay tuned for our fellowship time today.
You've been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.